Imagine a land filled with golden pyramids that touch the sky, powerful pharaohs who ruled like gods, and a civilization that lasted for thousands of years. This is ancient Egypt, a place of mystery, marvels, and timeless wonders. In ancient Egypt, history was divided into three main periods, or kingdoms: the Old Kingdom, the Middle Kingdom, and the New Kingdom. Each of these kingdoms had its own unique characteristics, achievements, and challenges. Today, we're going to take a fascinating journey through these three kingdoms, exploring how each period contributed to the greatness of one of the most famous civilizations in history. The Old Kingdom, circa 2686 2181 BCE. The Old Kingdom is often called the Age of the Pyramids. This was a time when ancient Egypt achieved some of its most incredible feats, most notably building the first Grand Pyramids. Imagine a time when people built monumental structures using only basic tools and raw manpower. It's a time of great innovation and ambition that set the stage for the rest of Egypt's history. Perhaps the most famous landmark from the Old Kingdom is the Great Pyramid of Giza, built for Pharaoh Khufu, also known as Cheops. This pyramid is one of the seven wonders of the ancient world, and it still stands today as a symbol of Egypt's grandeur. The pyramid was originally 481 feet tall, making it the tallest man-made structure in the world for over 3,800 years. Khufu wasn't the only powerful pharaoh of this time. Pharaohs like Khafre and Menkaure also built pyramids for themselves at Giza. These pharaohs were not just rulers, but also godlike figures who believed their power came directly from the gods. During the Old Kingdom, Egypt was ruled by pharaohs who were believed to be living gods. They were not only political leaders but also religious figures, and their word was absolute. People obeyed the pharaoh's commands without question, as it was thought that they were chosen by the gods to rule Egypt. However, the pharaoh didn't rule alone. He was supported by a team of officials and advisors, the most important of whom was the vizier. The vizier was like the prime minister today and helped manage the land, collect taxes, and ensure the smooth running of Egypt. They held a lot of power, often acting as the pharaoh's right hand.
Society in the Old Kingdom was highly structured. At the top were the pharaoh and the royal family. Below them were priests who managed the temples and performed religious rituals, followed by scribes who recorded everything from laws to grain harvests. The majority of Egyptians were farmers, who worked the land to feed the kingdom. Despite the glory of the pyramids and the power of the pharaohs, the Old Kingdom eventually came to an end. The main reason for this decline was a combination of several factors. First, there was weak leadership. Later pharaohs were not as powerful or respected as Khufu and Khafre, which made it harder for them to control such a vast land. Second, there were economic troubles. Egypt's economy depended heavily on the annual flooding of the Nile River to water crops. When floods were too weak or too strong, it caused food shortages, which led to widespread hardship. Lastly, a lack of food and resources contributed to the kingdom's instability. As the rich and powerful nobility kept their wealth and resources, the common people suffered, creating discontent. These issues, combined with invasions and internal strife, caused the Old Kingdom to fall into chaos, eventually leading to the First Intermediate Period. The Middle Kingdom, circa 2055-1650 BCE. After the fall of the Old Kingdom, Egypt entered a time of disunity and chaos. But this period of turmoil didn't last forever. The Middle Kingdom brought a time of stability and prosperity, and Egypt began to rebuild itself. This period is often called the Golden Age of ancient Egypt, as it marked a time of growth in many areas, politically, economically, and culturally. One of the greatest pharaohs of the Middle Kingdom was Amenemhat II. He was a strong leader who helped strengthen Egypt's borders and improve its economy. Under his reign, Egypt regained much of the power and wealth that had been lost during the disorganized period after the Old Kingdom. Amenemhat II was also famous for expanding trade routes and for constructing the Great Temple at Karnak, which would later become one of Egypt's most important religious sites. This period saw the construction of many temples and monuments across Egypt. The Middle Kingdom also witnessed the creation of more elaborate tombs for pharaohs and nobles. These tombs were much grander than those of the Old Kingdom, reflecting the new sense of wealth and power in the land. This era wasn't just about power and conquest. It was also a time of cultural flourishing. One of the most significant aspects of the Middle Kingdom was the development of literature and art. During this time, Egyptians produced many famous works, including stories, poems, and songs. One of the most famous literary works from the Middle Kingdom is The Tale of Sinuhe, a story about an Egyptian nobleman who flees Egypt, lives in exile, and then returns home after many adventures. This story is considered one of the greatest examples of ancient Egyptian literature and reflects the culture and values of the time. Art also flourished during this period, with beautiful paintings, sculptures, and crafts being created to decorate tombs, temples, and homes. While the Middle Kingdom was a time of prosperity, Egypt wasn't free from challenges. One of the biggest threats to Egypt came from invading peoples, especially the Hyksos, a group of foreign rulers who took control of parts of Egypt, including the important Delta region. These invaders introduced new technologies, such as the chariot, which gave them a military advantage. Their rule marked the end of the Middle Kingdom and the start of a period of instability known as the Second Intermediate Period. The invasion of the Hyksos was one of the major events that led to the eventual collapse of the Middle Kingdom, and it set the stage for the rise of the powerful New Kingdom. The New Kingdom, 1550 to 1070 BCE. The New Kingdom is often called the Golden Age of ancient Egypt. This was a time when Egypt reached the peak of its power, wealth, and influence. The New Kingdom was not just a time of political strength, but also a period of great cultural growth, making it one of the most famous and prosperous eras in Egyptian history. Some of the most well-known pharaohs in Egyptian history ruled during the New Kingdom. These pharaohs were not only powerful rulers, but also influential figures who shaped the future of Egypt. One of the most fascinating figures of the New Kingdom was Hatshepsut, one of the few female pharaohs of ancient Egypt. Hatshepsut ruled as a pharaoh for over 20 years and is remembered for her successful reign and ambitious building projects. One of her most famous achievements is her temple at Deir el-Bahari, a stunning architectural wonder built into the cliffs of the Valley of the Kings. Another important pharaoh was Ramses II, also known as Ramses the Great. His reign lasted for 66 years, and he is often remembered for his military campaigns, including the famous Battle of Kadesh against the Hittites. Ramses made Egypt a military powerhouse, and he is also known for building massive structures like the temple at Abu Simbel. Then there's Akhenaten, a pharaoh who made a bold and controversial change to Egypt's religious practices. Akhenaten tried to replace Egypt's traditional gods with the worship of just one god, Aten, the sun disk. While this shift was short-lived, it was a major change in Egyptian society, and Akhenaten's religious reforms left a lasting impact. The New Kingdom also saw Egypt expand its territory far beyond the Nile Valley. Egypt conquered regions such as the Levant, modern-day Syria and Israel, Nubia to the south of Egypt, and Libya to the west. The Egyptian empire was stronger than ever, and its military reached new heights of power. With a mighty army, Egypt became a dominant force in the ancient world. The pharaohs of the New Kingdom ruled over a vast empire, and Egypt's influence stretched across much of the eastern Mediterranean. Aside from military achievements, the New Kingdom was also a time of remarkable cultural flourishing. The art, architecture, and literature of the period were grander than ever. Two of Egypt's most magnificent temples, Karnak and Luxor, were built during the New Kingdom. These temples were dedicated to the gods and pharaohs, and their grandeur still amazes visitors today. One of the most significant discoveries from this period was the tomb of King Tutankhamun, a young pharaoh who died at a very young age. His tomb was discovered in 1922 by archaeologist Howard Carter. The treasures found in Tut's tomb were some of the most well-preserved and magnificent artifacts ever found in Egypt, giving us a glimpse into the wealth and luxury of New Kingdom Egypt. The Valley of the Kings, where many New Kingdom pharaohs were buried, is another testament to the cultural richness of this time. The tombs were filled with art, statues, and objects designed to ensure a prosperous afterlife for the rulers. Despite its greatness, the New Kingdom eventually began to decline. There were several reasons for this fall. First, the empire became too large and difficult to control. Maintaining such a vast territory required a lot of resources, and over time, Egypt's ability to manage its lands weakened. Additionally, internal struggles, like conflicts between the pharaohs and their officials, began to weaken Egypt from within. The new kingdom also faced invasions from outside forces, such as the Sea Peoples, who attacked Egypt's borders. As the empire weakened, new powerful civilizations, like the Assyrians and Persians, began to rise and challenge Egypt's dominance in the region. By the end of the new kingdom, Egypt's empire had shrunk, and the pharaohs no longer held the same level of power. So, to sum it up, the three kingdoms of ancient Egypt, the Old Kingdom, the Middle Kingdom, and the New Kingdom each had its own unique characteristics. The Old Kingdom is known for its majestic pyramids, the Middle Kingdom for its stability and cultural growth, and the New Kingdom for its military power, expansion, and incredible achievements in art and architecture. Despite their differences, each kingdom contributed to the lasting legacy of Egypt. Even though the ancient Egyptian civilization eventually declined, its culture, inventions, and contributions to art, architecture, and writing continue to influence us today. From the iconic pyramids to advancements in medicine, mathematics, and literature, Egypt's impact can still be felt across the world. The story of ancient Egypt is a tale of triumphs, challenges, and extraordinary accomplishments that shaped the world as we know it. It reminds us of the incredible things humans can achieve and how the past continues to shape our present and future.